Have you ever found yourself wondering why things aren't quite as spontaneous as they used to be down there? Perhaps you're perfectly capable on your own, but when it comes to connecting with a partner, it feels like your body has a mind of its own. Or perhaps, no mind at all. It's a frustrating, often unspoken reality for many men as they get a little older. And it can chip away at your confidence, leaving you feeling isolated and worried. You might assume it's just a natural part of aging, a simple decline. But what if I told you there's a common, often overlooked habit, something many of us do without a second thought, that could be silently undermining your ability to achieve and maintain a strong erection? It's a mistake that, as a penis surgeon, I see the subtle effects of far too often, yet it's rarely discussed openly. In this video, we're going to pull back the curtain on this particular habit, explore why it can be so detrimental, and most importantly, how you can adjust it to reclaim your vitality and intimacy. We'll look at the specific ways your body learns from this one mistake and how you can gently retrain it. Watch to the end for something that will truly surprise you about how much control you actually have over this often overlooked aspect of your well-being. Now, let's dive right into this quiet culprit that many men, especially as they mature, might unknowingly be falling prey to. The first and most significant mistake, the one that truly stands out in my experience, is developing an overly specific and often highly intense routine for self-stimulation. Think of it like this: your brain is incredibly adaptable, a master learner. When you repeatedly engage in a very particular type of stimulation, perhaps always using the same pressure, the exact same rhythm, or focusing intently on one small area for a rapid outcome, your brain and body begin to form a very precise blueprint for what arousal and orgasm feel like. It's like teaching a child that the only way to play is with one specific toy, in one specific corner of the room, using one specific hand. Anything outside that very narrow definition starts to feel less satisfying, less effective, almost foreign. When this highly specific blueprint becomes ingrained, particularly if it's consistently more intense or direct than what natural, partnered intimacy typically offers, your body can start to develop a kind of selective responsiveness. What happens then is that the nuances of a partner's touch, the slower buildup, the varied pressures, the emotional connection that's often less about direct, singular focus and more about a holistic experience, just don't quite hit the mark. Your brain, having been trained on that very specific, high-octane self-stimulation, might struggle to register the gentler, more varied, and often less singular sensations that come with intimacy. It's not that you've lost the ability to get hard. It's that your body has learned to expect a very particular key to unlock that response. And your partner might not always have that exact key. This isn't about shaming anyone or suggesting that self-stimulation is wrong. Far from it. It's a natural, healthy part of life for many men. The issue arises when it becomes the sole, inflexible training ground for your arousal system. I've spoken with countless gentlemen who describe how frustrating it is when they can achieve an erection easily on their own, sometimes even quite quickly, but then find themselves struggling when they're with a partner. They feel a sense of failure, of losing something precious, and often blame age or even their partner. But the real problem often lies in this learned rigidity. Your brain has essentially become accustomed to a very high bar of specific stimulation, and anything below that very particular threshold might not trigger the desired response. So, what can you do about it? The good news is, just as your brain is a master learner, it's also a master at unlearning and relearning. The key is to introduce variety and mindfulness into your self-stimulation routine. First, try varying the intensity and pressure. If you typically go for very firm, direct pressure, try easing up, using a lighter touch, or experimenting with different parts of your hand. Second, change the rhythm and speed. If you always go fast, try slowing down considerably, focusing on the sensations of a gradual buildup. Third, incorporate different areas of stimulation, not just the most direct points. Explore the base, the shaft, even the perineum, the area between the testicles and the anus, which can be very sensitive for some men. The goal here is to broaden your body's arousal vocabulary. Another crucial aspect of this training is to step away from the screen, or at least, reduce your reliance on it. If you're regularly using pornography that features highly specific, often extreme, or very rapid visual stimulation, it can compound the problem. This content is designed to be instantly gratifying and often unrealistic in terms of normal human interaction. Your brain starts to equate arousal with these extreme visual cues, setting an even higher and more unrealistic bar for what it needs to see and feel to get excited. Instead, try to engage your imagination more during self-stimulation. Focus on feelings, memories, or fantasies that don't rely on external, hyper-stimulating visuals. This helps to reconnect your arousal with your internal landscape and emotional responses, which are far more versatile and present in real-life intimacy. It's about retraining your nervous system, allowing it to become more flexible and responsive to a wider range of stimuli. Think of it as expanding your palate for food. If you only ever eat spicy food, plain food might taste bland. But that doesn't mean plain food isn't delicious or nourishing. It just means your taste buds need to recalibrate. Similarly, your arousal system needs to learn to appreciate the subtle, varied, and often slower buildup that comes with natural, spontaneous intimacy. This isn't a quick fix, but a process of gentle adjustment and re-education for your body and mind. It requires patience and a willingness to explore. But the payoff in terms of improved function and more fulfilling intimate connections can be truly remarkable. By diversifying your approach to self-stimulation, you're essentially preparing your body to respond more readily and robustly when the moment calls for it, no matter how the stimulation presents itself. Now that we've really delved into the specifics of an overly narrow self-stimulation routine, let's broaden our view a little and talk about another critical habit that silently impacts your ability to get hard, beyond the specific technique of self-stimulation. Another habit that significantly contributes to difficulties with erections, especially as we age, is what I call the disconnected habit. This refers to the tendency to view your erectile function as a completely separate entity from your overall physical and mental well-being. Many men, when experiencing issues getting hard, will immediately focus on local solutions, whether it's a pill, a device, or adjustments to self-stimulation without fully appreciating the profound systemic connections. They might be meticulously adjusting their self-stimulation routine based on my earlier advice, which is fantastic, but they might be simultaneously neglecting the foundational pillars of health that underpin all physiological functions, including erectile strength. Think of your body as a complex symphony orchestra. Every instrument, your heart, your blood vessels, your brain, your hormones, your nervous system needs to be in tune and playing its part. If one section is out of whack, the whole performance suffers. Erectile function is not just a local event, it's a systemic output, a barometer of your overall health. The disconnected habit is the mistake of acting as though the penis operates in isolation, immune to what's happening with the rest of your body. For example, if you're consistently running on insufficient sleep, your body is under chronic stress. This stress elevates cortisol levels, which can suppress testosterone, a key hormone for libido and erectile function. It also affects nitric oxide production, which is essential for blood flow to the penis. Yet, many men might not link their restless nights or their constant feeling of being tired to their difficulties getting hard. Similarly, consider the impact of poor diet and lack of physical activity. If you're consuming a diet rich in processed foods, unhealthy fats, and sugars, you're paving the way for endothelial dysfunction damage to the inner lining of your blood vessels. These are the same vessels that need to relax and expand to allow blood flow into the penis for an erection. Over time, This damage leads to atherosclerosis, hardening and narrowing of the arteries. And guess which arteries are often the first to show these signs? The tiny ones supplying the penis. Yet, someone might still be thinking, I just need a blue pill, when the real issue is a decade of fast food and sedentary living. The disconnected habit allows us to compartmentalize, rather than seeing the whole picture. So, what's the actionable step here? It's about adopting a holistic connection habit. It means consciously linking your daily choices in diet, exercise, sleep, and stress management directly to your erectile health. For instance, start seeing that evening walk not just as exercise, but as erection exercise, because it improves cardiovascular health, which is directly tied to blood flow. View that plate of colorful vegetables not just as healthy food, but as erection-friendly food, because they provide antioxidants and nutrients that support vascular health and reduce inflammation. Prioritize 8 hours of quality sleep, not just for energy, but for hormone balance and nitric oxide production, crucial for firm erections. Let's talk a moment about chronic stress and mental well-being. In our busy lives, stress is often a constant companion, but constant worry, anxiety, or unresolved emotional issues can flood your system with adrenaline and cortisol. These stress hormones are designed for fight or flight responses, diverting blood flow away from non-essential functions like digestion and, yes, erections. The disconnected habit leads men to believe their stress at work or at home has no bearing on their ability to perform sexually. But it absolutely does. Learning stress management techniques, whether it's meditation, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature, or even just scheduling time for hobbies and relaxation is just as crucial for erectile health as anything you do in the bedroom. Another subtle aspect of this disconnected habit is the tendency to ignore mental health. Issues like depression and anxiety can significantly impact libido and erectile function, often because they affect neurotransmitters in the brain that are vital for arousal. If you find yourself in a perpetual state of low mood or high anxiety, pretending these feelings don't spill over into your intimate life is a mistake. Seeking support for mental health challenges can often be one of the most powerful interventions for improving erectile function, sometimes even more effective than addressing physical symptoms alone. The actionable advice then is to become a detective of your own body, observing how different daily choices ripple through to your intimate health. Start a sleep journal and notice how a night of truly restful sleep impacts your morning erections. Pay attention to how a few days of eating well makes you feel more energetic and, perhaps, more spontaneously aroused. Realize that time spent nurturing your mental peace isn't a luxury, but a necessity for your overall vitality, including your sexual vitality. By consciously connecting these dots, you move away from treating symptoms in isolation and towards building a robust foundation of health that naturally supports strong, reliable erections. This systemic approach is often the missing piece of the puzzle for many men who are otherwise trying to address their concerns. It's about recognizing that every single choice you make during your day reverberates throughout your entire being, influencing your ability to get hard in ways you might not have considered. It's a powerful realization that shifts the focus from a narrow problem to a broad opportunity for overall well-being. Now that we've covered the nuances of physical and mental connectedness, let's consider another common pitfall that often goes hand in hand with the habits we've discussed and further complicates your ability to get hard. We've talked about how specific self-stimulation routines can inadvertently train your brain, and how a disconnected view of your overall health impacts your erections. Now, let's explore the third significant mistake I frequently encounter: the performance pressure loop. This isn't just about general anxiety. It's a specific pattern that develops when a man starts to worry about his ability to get or maintain an erection. And then, that worry itself becomes the primary barrier to achieving one. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, a vicious cycle that quietly, yet powerfully, kills spontaneity and natural function. Here's how it typically unfolds. A man experiences a few instances where his erection isn't as firm or doesn't last as long as he'd like. Maybe it's due to one of the habits we've already discussed, or simply a temporary dip due to fatigue or stress. Instead of viewing these as normal fluctuations, or even as opportunities to adjust habits, his mind immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario: I'm losing it. What if it happens again? Will I disappoint my partner? This initial worry then morphs into intense anxiety during subsequent intimate moments, when the opportunity arises. Instead of focusing on pleasure, connection, or the natural flow of arousal, his brain becomes consumed with monitoring his erection. Is it hard enough? Is it going to last? This internal monitoring and intense focus on performance actually activates the sympathetic nervous system, the body's fight-or-flight response. This system is designed to shunt blood away from non-essential functions like erections to prepare you for danger. So, the very act of trying too hard, of worrying too much about the outcome, actively sabotages the biological process of getting an erection. It's an ironic and cruel twist the more you want it, the harder, no pun intended, it becomes to achieve. This performance pressure loop is a silent killer because it often masks the true underlying issues and convinces men that they have a physical problem, when a significant part of it is psychological. The actionable step to break free from this loop is to consciously shift your focus from performance to pleasure and connection. This sounds simple, but it requires a fundamental change in mindset and approach. First, redefine what success means in intimate moments. It's not solely about achieving and maintaining a rigid erection for a specific duration. Success can be shared laughter, tender touch, deep kisses, mutual enjoyment, and genuine intimacy. When you broaden your definition of success, the pressure to perform lessens, and ironically, your body is more likely to relax and respond. One practical technique is to engage in sensate focus exercises, often recommended by sex therapists. This involves setting aside time with a partner, or even by yourself, where the goal is simply to explore touch and sensation, without any pressure for intercourse or even an erection. Start with non-genital touch, focusing on how different textures, pressures, and movements feel. Talk about what feels good. Gradually, you can introduce genital touch, but again, without the expectation of an erection. The goal is simply to experience pleasure and connect through touch. This process retrains your brain to associate intimacy with pleasure and connection, rather than with a high-stakes performance review. It allows your body to relax and rediscover its natural arousal pathways. Another crucial aspect is communication. If you're struggling with this performance pressure, talk openly and honestly with your partner. Sharing your anxieties and letting them know what you're experiencing can relieve an immense amount of pressure. A supportive partner can be your greatest ally in breaking this cycle, reassuring you that their connection with you goes far beyond just your erectile function. Often, the partner is more understanding and less critical than the man imagines, and this open dialogue itself can be a powerful antidote to anxiety. Lastly, practice mindfulness during intimate moments. Instead of letting your mind race with worries about the future or judgments about the present, try to anchor yourself in the sensations of the moment. Focus on your partner's touch, their scent, the sound of their breathing, the feeling of your skin. When your mind starts to drift to performance anxiety, gently guide it back to the present moment, to the sensory experience. This isn't about ignoring the challenge, but about managing your mental response to it, creating a more conducive environment for natural arousal. The performance pressure loop is insidious because it feeds on itself. The more you worry, the harder it is to get hard, which makes you worry more. By intentionally shifting your focus to pleasure, connection, and mindful engagement, you begin to dismantle this loop. You empower your body to relax and respond naturally, rather than forcing a response that is inherently spontaneous. It's a journey of patience and self-compassion, but one that can profoundly transform your intimate life, allowing you to experience joy and connection without the burden of expectation. Remember, intimacy is about so much more than just an erection. And recognizing that is often the first step to truly reclaiming your ability to get hard. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the subtle ways certain self-stimulation habits can narrow your body's arousal blueprint, to the critical importance of connecting your overall health and well-being directly to your erectile function. And finally, how the debilitating cycle of performance pressure can silently undermine your efforts. Each of these insights, while distinct, is deeply interconnected, forming a holistic picture of how your intimate health can be subtly eroded, but also powerfully restored. Think about the specific self-stimulation routine we discussed first. If you've been inadvertently training your brain to expect one very specific, often high-intensity type of stimulation, your body naturally becomes less flexible when it comes to responding to the varied, often gentler, and more spontaneous sensations of partnered intimacy. The good news is that by consciously introducing variety-changing pressure, rhythm, speed, and even bringing in more imagination and less reliance on external visuals, you can begin to broaden your body's arousal vocabulary. It's about gently recalibrating your system, teaching it to be more broadly responsive and less reliant on a single, narrow pathway. This takes patience, but the rewards are profound as you become more attuned to a wider range of pleasurable stimuli. Then, we delved into the disconnected habit, where many men separate their erectile health from their overall physical and mental well-being. It's a common misconception that erections are just a local plumbing issue. In reality, they are a vibrant indicator of your systemic health, your cardiovascular strength, hormonal balance, nervous system function, and even your mental state. By committing to a holistic connection habit, you start to see every healthy choice a nutritious meal, a brisk walk, a good night's sleep, effective stress management, and even addressing mental health concerns as a direct investment in your ability to get hard. This shift in perspective is empowering because it transforms seemingly unrelated daily choices into powerful tools for improving your intimate life. And finally, we tackled the insidious performance pressure loop, that cycle of worry, anxiety, and self-monitoring that suffocates spontaneity and often prevents erections from even beginning. It's a mental trap where the more you try to force it, the less likely it is to happen. The solution here is to actively shift your focus from the outcome, the erection itself, to the process, the pleasure, the connection, the intimacy, and the shared experience with a partner. By embracing techniques like sensate focus, open communication with your partner, and mindfulness, you can break free from this loop. You empower your body to relax and respond naturally because the pressure has been taken off, allowing joy and connection to lead the way. Remember, none of this is about judgment or blame. These are common patterns that many men unknowingly fall into, especially as they navigate the natural changes that come with age. The key takeaway from our conversation today is one of profound hope and empowerment. Small, consistent changes in your habits, both in your intimate life and in your overall well-being, can make a monumental difference. You have far more control over your ability to get hard than you might currently believe. It's not just about what a surgeon can fix. It's about understanding your body's incredible capacity to adapt and heal, and then providing it with the right environment and training. I truly hope this conversation has given you new insights and a renewed sense of possibility. Your intimate life is a vital component of your overall happiness and connection, and it's well worth nurturing. I encourage you to think about these habits and consider how you might gently incorporate some of these adjustments into your daily routine. Take small steps, be patient with yourself, and celebrate every little victory. I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Have you recognized any of these patterns in your own life? What changes have you found helpful? Please share your insights in the comments below. Your experiences can be incredibly valuable to others in this community. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more men who might be struggling in silence. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more practical, encouraging advice on living your best life at every age. Thank you for spending this time with me. Live your best life at every age, fully, confidently, and intimately.